With us tonight is Lieutenant Governor Lee Fisher, who is also a candidate for the U.S. Senate race. Big race since George Voinovich will no longer be in the position. Now, looking at the latest polls, the latest Quinnipiac poll says that 29% of Democrats favor you, 20% support Jennifer Brunner, and so that's great for you. In that category, however, it says that the Republican former Congressman Portman, would beat you 40-37 in a head-to-head matchup right now. How do you think you're doing in the campaign thus far?
You know, the only thing I'm focusing on are the families that are falling behind because of this economy. It doesn't really matter what the polls say, because one day you're up, one day you're down. It really doesn't mean anything. I can tell you this. People who are being foreclosed in their homes, people who are out of jobs, they don't care about that poll. What they care about is whether or not somebody in the U.S. Senate is going to fight for them. And Washington's broken. Wall Street has failed us. And the reason I'm running for the U.S. Senate is to fight for those families who either have been foreclosed or worried about being foreclosed upon, those people who have either lost their jobs or are worried about losing their jobs. That's why I'm running. I'm fighting for them.
And there are a whole lot of those in the state of Ohio. We know that. Now, how do you find time to be lieutenant governor and run a Senate campaign? Seems like both are full-time jobs.
Well, actually, I have 3 jobs, and the most important job is that I'm a husband and a father, and that's number 1.
There is that, too. I forgot that
one. That's right. Lieutenant Governor is a wonderful job working with my friend and partner, Governor Ted Strickland, and every day I focus on jobs and economic development. That's my job. That's what I do. And I'm running for the U.S. Senate because what's happened in Washington, D.C. has undermined a lot of the great work that the governor and I have done. And until we get things in control in Washington, D.C., it's going to be much harder to put people back to work and keep them at work. So that's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate.
Okay, if elected, how would you make jobs happen?
Well, there's lots of things we need to do. There's no one quick fix, but here's a number of things we can do. Number 1, believe it or not, right now, we give tax breaks to companies to export jobs to China. Rob Portman, my Republican opponent, when he worked for George Bush, was one of the advocates for that. That makes no sense. I want to do just the opposite. A job creation tax credit that gives a company right here in Toledo an incentive to hire somebody tomorrow. I also want to give them the opportunity to suspend their payroll tax if they hire somebody who's been unemployed for more than 60 days. I also want to make sure that we help small businesses get those loans. Every day, I talk to men and women who run small businesses who can't get a loan even though they've never missed a payment in their life. So we want to create a fund from that unused bailout money and use that money for loans for banks. Loans from banks to small businesses. Why? Because these bailouts of banks shortchange the small businesses. And it just doesn't make any sense that the government gives the banks money and then the banks don't give the businesses money. That has to stop.
Do you think you could get enough support if you're elected with other senators to make some of these things happen? Because certainly, you know, your ideas can be great for your state, but if you don't have other states with you, they're not going to pass.
One thing I've learned is there's no such thing as a Democratic job or a Republican job. It's a job. These shouldn't have to be partisan issues. That's one of the things that's broken about Washington. They're always fighting about the politics and trying to score political points. I don't care about that stuff. All I care about is putting people back to work. Yes, we can get it done because it's just an old dose of common sense from somebody who has spent his life in Ohio, not his life in D.C., like Rob Portman, who's my likely Republican opponent.
All right. Lieutenant Governor Lee Fisher, also candidate for U.S. Senate, thank you for being tonight's Talkback guest.
Thank you.